Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. My today guest is really interesting, and we never met before. This is our first time. I was approached by him, and I was really thrilled with to see what everything he does. Csongor Daniel is biotherapist, healer, author, speaker, wellness coach, and so much more. He is author of 3 books on bioenergy healing, which is not your traditional healer. He also builds motorcycles and rides to his seminars around the world. His mission is to teach as many as possible to how to heal themselves and others with simple techniques, positive thinking, and love. So Daniel is definitely an excellent fit for my podcast because we are all about helping ourselves and healing and doing it as naturally as possible. I have tons of questions. One of them, what was really interesting for me to learn about him, that we are both immigrants from Eastern Europe. I am immigrant from Czech Republic, and he came from former Yugoslavia. So that would be definitely a startup point for us to get the conversation going. Welcome, Chandra, to my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. Well, not only that, we have in common, the healing we have in common, even though each of us use different tools. But we also are both in Florida, which I was surprised to learn. So
Yes.
there's so many things. So tell me, can we go back a little bit to what was your childhood like and how it happened that you end up in the United States and what led you to this field?
How much time do we have?
Whatever time you need.
Well, yes, I was born and raised in Yugoslavia in a Hungarian family.
Mhm.
My mom was an artist. She taught art. My grandfather was a wood carving artist. So I had an artsy side of the family. And then my dad and my uncle, they were engineers.
That's
And I kind of fell
interesting.
in between, and I chose engineering as a field. Other than that, I had a normal childhood. Yugoslavia was wonderful at the time. We
Mm.
had free passports to travel. We had pretty much everything in that country that you have in the United States, just all in a smaller, high mountains, the Adriatic Sea, and it was just a beautiful childhood, I would say. Um, I was about halfway through college when all of this changed, when these healing abilities came out. And it was through a friend of my father's who was visiting one day, and he was telling my dad about this energy, and my dad, with his chemist mind, he kind of waved it like, nah, I don't know about that.
Mhm.
And I overheard the conversation, and I realized what he was talking about. I felt my whole life.
Hmm.
I just never knew what it was. I mean, I
Okay.
was into sports, I was a little kid. Um, I did a lot of swimming. I did some karate. I did a lot of target shooting. That was my main sport. I
Mm.
really loved the concentration, and it was like a meditation to me, which later really led to a different kind of meditation. However, this whole energy feeling that was totally off. It's a little bit bizarre when I talk about it,
No, it's fine.
but obviously, now we know it's a normal thing.
So this person
However,
who came to talk to your father, he was doing it himself or he just knew about it?
he was doing a little bit of that himself, a little bit of energy healing.
Hmm.
He was an editor for a large publishing house in Belgrade, so he was well read, and some things came up, even though I could never find anything specific on energy healing at that time, at least.
Hmm.
And so he just showed me certain things, how to feel the energy and how to use a pendulum and such. And it dawned on me, yes, this is awesome. I know what it is now, but I had no idea what to do with it. So a good friend of mine, excuse me, a long time super marathon runner, he was complaining always about his ankle.
Hmm.
And I figured, well, let's give it a try.
Yeah, right.
And, without touching him, I was just waving my hand there, feeling the energy. And at that time, I figured, which was logical. I tried to find logic in everything. I still do.
Well,
It was
that's the
logical to
engineer
take
part
that.
of it, right?
Yeah, it was logical to think that there's too much energy. I mean, I felt more in that area, so to take it off, and his pain vanished. I was like, wow, this is cool. Then I stopped some headaches and some other pain. But really, there was nothing for me offered, in order to learn more about this. There was nothing in college about it, nothing in literature. We traveled a lot with my dad, being Hungarians. The bookstores were very inviting in Hungary.
Hmm.
They had tons of books, and the prices were really good, very cheap. We'd go and get a carload of books. No internet at the time, you know how it was.
That's right.
And here and there I ran into something about Qigong or yoga or Far Eastern philosophy, but there was really nothing that explained this to me directly what it was. And so I continued my studies, obviously, but every time something came up, I tried to help. And one day my mom's back was hurting.
Hmm.
And this is where everything changed. She was standing in the middle of the living room. I was standing behind her. And I kind of visualized pulling that excess energy, that pain out of her back. And I was about like a foot distance from her when she started leaning back as I pulled my hand away. Like, I pushed my hand forward. My mom went back forward. Pulled my hand back. My mom went back. And
Wow.
back and forth like that. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? She says, nothing. What are you doing? I said, I don't know. And, but we realized that I could move her without touching her. And it was weird. It was the craziest thing. It's like a superpower,
Like
you know.
magnet, like you were
So
with the
now what do you
magnet.
do in college years with such a power? Well, I went to the pub that night and told my buddies what happened. And they all laughed like, you're right. So, try me, try me. And so I tried one and I was able to pull him back. Then the
Hmm.
next guy. By the end of the night, the entire pub was into it. We're betting in beer, who's going to move, who's not. So that was the beginning of my brilliant career.
I was guessing that you would try to get girls with that.
Oh, well, in college years, of course, of course. But in essence, I had this thing, but I didn't know what to do with it or how to
Hmm.
utilize it. And a couple of weeks went by, and my mom was yelling from the room, and I ran in, and there was a short documentary about this healer on an Adriatic island, and people were like snaking in these small streets, to get to see him.
Hmm.
His name was Zdenko Domancic. We could barely pronounce it. And so finally, I was able to get in touch with a hotel on the island. Again, no internet,
Yeah.
no phone service. And I was informed that he had moved away from the island and they don't know where he is.
Hmm.
So that was that. I kept doing my studies, my thing. Then my marathon runner buddy ran over with the newspaper. Get it? Um, he ran in, he says, man, look at this. There's some professor who measures the energy fields in Belgrade at one of the universities, and he could tell you if, you're special or whatnot. Maybe he can direct you.
Hmm.
And so I got in touch with him and I was able to get in like last minute. We went through a whole bunch of tests. Anything that you can measure in a radio set, you can measure in your body. You have amps, ohms, volts, and such. And he pulled me over at the end of the day and he said, look, um, you were born to do this. I measured 10,000 people. I've never seen this. I'm like, great, but what do I do with it? Where do I go? Nobody's
Yeah.
teaching this. One guy that I tried to find, I can't find him. So don't worry about it. I have the best teacher for you. And we hopped in the car, drove half an hour outside of Belgrade, and he took me to this hotel where he introduced me to Mr. Domancic.
The one that you were looking for. Yeah.
Yes, I get goosebumps each time.
Yeah.
And he moved there from the island for the season, I guess, rented the entire hotel, and it was packed with people. every day, hundreds of them would cram into what used to be a disco, and he and his students would work on each individual, but everybody was sitting around. And the energy was so tremendous that you could walk in with a headache, sit down, and a few minutes later, your headache was gone. So that the big amount of people, the more you have around, the more energy circulates, the more it finds its way to where it's needed. And the results were incredible. So I learned from him. I worked with him a little bit and went back, finished college, which I never used except for maybe building my motorcycles.
Yeah.
Um, and I started my own practice. So the first month I had maybe 30 patients altogether. 2 months later, I had that many a day, and it was all word of mouth. It's a little
Yeah.
bit different in Europe. People are more open-minded, have to explain a little bit less, plus the results speak to them for themselves.
Hmm.
And also neighbors speak between themselves. And
That's
so if
right.
I would
Yeah.
stop somebody's headache the next day, the entire street would know about it. And it went well. Eventually, I came to a vacation in the United States. I have an aunt in New Jersey. I went to visit her, and I traveled the country a little bit. And when time came to go back, there was a full-blown war in the former Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
I was advised to hang around here a little bit longer. It was chaotic. They were taking people into the military and so on. I did serve in the military like everybody else
Hmm.
did at the time, and you're automatically in the reserves. But it's like calling you up to shoot at your brother, or such.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I ended up staying, and I'm still here, obviously.
Were you single at that time when you
I
were just
was,
making decision for yourself, right?
yeah, I was single.
Yeah.
And interesting story. I was working on a lot of people at a small village, which is now close to Croatia and kind of sort of close to Hungary. So I did house calls, but this was like a group call. I had 30 people around me there every day. And then the last day, one of the old ladies who had arthritis at the beginning, and already the second day she felt great. And it was customary that, we'd all stop and the host would bring us some Turkish coffee. And then for that, you sit down, you don't walk around with it. It's a tiny little cup, a little bit of talk, chit chat, drink the coffee and keep working. Well, this lady said, okay, she stopped me from going back to work. Now that you helped me, I will read your future. Just like from tea leaves, we have a habit of
Yeah.
reading from Turkish coffee. And I said, so, okay, sure. This is usually a joke, we would do it among friends. Somebody knows this sign, the other one knows that sign, so we put together a little bit of a prediction.
Hmm.
But she told me, you're going on a long trip and you're not coming back. But don't worry, and tell your mom that you'll be okay and you'll be fine there. Then you'll meet this blonde and you'll get married, you'll have kids and blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay, okay. And it really happened. I came here and I couldn't go back and eventually married, got two kids, and life moved on. So you never know where these little signs or advices come through.
Yeah, it is. It is
Sometimes even a
so.
joke can sound,
Mm.
weird, but eventually it happens. So open mind, open brain.
Yeah, and it's a lot of these things may sound to people like voodoo, but then you are faced with something and you have the chance to experience it on your body or on yourself, and your mindset completely changed because it's suddenly it is evidence that we are not just destined to go to doctor and stuff ourselves with pills and poison our
Never,
system.
never in the history did we have so much information available to us as
Yeah.
individuals. You can pick up your phone, and any information in our universe is available right there. However, with the overload of information, now people don't know what to trust, what not to trust.
Yeah.
And many things that are put out as facts are not facts.
Mhm.
And many things are not checked. And so it is very hard. I understand.
And with that comfort to knowing that you can reach for any information you want at any point,
Yes.
also comes the lack of critical thinking, because
Yes.
people seems to be using logic less, and they just follow whatever feels good to them, and it's sometimes it's really hard to overcome, because it's just the
Well,
open-mindedness.
if you have a television set, then you know that everything is about marketing, everything is about
Yeah,
profit.
yeah.
You turn on the evening news, it's all about drugs. Oh, I've never heard of them, never heard the disease that it
Well, that's
treats. But
partly because we live in Florida, because we have the older population. Yeah, it's
I
true.
don't know, it's the national news, it's
No, but it is,
it's,
trust me,
yes.
the advertisers are completely 99% either some kind of medical devices or pills.
Yes.
And
And
I
if you
have
read
lived
the
in Connecticut before, and it wasn't so. So I know it is different. It's the local
oh,
market that is
interesting.
targeted
Yes.
to elderly population. Yeah,
And you
unfortunately.
still need to read the fine print, which is horrendous,
Yep.
when a drug treating headaches and the side effects, one of them is headaches. So it all makes really no sense. But
Yeah.
it's all marketing.
But it's unfortunately, we were so trained over the years that people would trust the doctor more, even though they know there are side effects to drugs, because it's a doctor and he
Hmm.
knows what he's doing. But they would not trust something natural that cannot hurt them, and just be open-minded to try something before you reach for that last resort, that should be the medical intervention or surgery or anything like that. So people like you are extremely important, because you don't even have to be physically with people in one room, which absolutely fascinates me, for the transfer of energy to happen. And when I first saw it, and you are not the first person that I heard doing this, but you seem to be really excellent and have a lot of experience. Is there something, the first thing that came to my mind was Reiki. Is it even in a similar category, or is it something
It's
comparable?
similar. I have to run down what this energy is, so everybody would understand from the core of what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Reiki, it works with energy. This is all energy. The Japanese call it ki. The Chinese call it chi. We call it
Yes.
energy. Old Rome, they called it spiritus.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the same energy, just different names. But now, what is this energy? Ooh, it's not there because I can't see it. Well, we can't see most of stuff. We can't see 99.99999 things around us, a percent of things around us. We
Correct.
see a very, very small, infrared to ultraviolet, and that's it. Our senses pick up other things sometimes when we pay attention. There are thousands of radio waves going through us right now, invisible.
Mm-hmm.
But the average person can't explain how a cell phone works or
That's
how
right.
they get electricity. Now, we know that there's wireless transfer of energy already. So this is just a different form of energy. That's it.
But you said
You
one
think,
important thing: if you pay attention. And
yes,
that's the problem, because we are overwhelmed with everything
of
else and
course, we
we
have no
hardly
need
pay
to pay
attention.
attention. And it's
Yep.
easier to pick up the phone than start meditating on getting somebody's attention.
Right.
But in essence, it happens to us all the time. You think of someone and the phone rings with that person on the other line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a text message or some other messages. So we're all connected all the time. The entire planet vibrates in its own vibration where we tap in all the time.
Yeah.
But again, what is this energy? I mean, I appear to be kind of solid, right? I mean, flexible, but still solid. Now we know that about 70% of this is water. If I start jumping around, would you hear it splashing? No, of course not. It's all trapped in trillions of tiny
It's
little cells.
disposed in little cells. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now let's move into one of these little cells. If we would look at it from the outside like a ball, it would be like a balloon filled with water. Now we know inside there's like 5,000 different substances. There's your DNA, there's minerals, there's everything is there. But, there's the water. For us, let's say now we go naively for the water. Now you jump into one of those water molecules. And as a matter of fact, now it goes from this liquidy cell, you find yourself in a gaseous environment. You have the hydrogen and the oxygen, which are both gases. You jump deeper in one of those, and you find atoms. Atoms are, the building substances of everything. Now, of course, the atoms are also kind of complicated. It's not just that simple. But if we look at it just for visual sake, you have the nucleus in the middle, which carries all the weight, all the energy of that atom. But then there's the electron traveling around it on certain distances, just like planets around the sun. Now, the teacher's desk doesn't show you the right ratio. So if you would squeeze the sun to the size of a pea, then Pluto would be like a mile and a half away, and it would be the size of a bacteria. In the atom, it's even more drastic. Let's magnify that nucleus to be the size of a pea, and you stick it in the middle of a stadium. The very first electron would be outside the bleachers somewhere, and it would be like non-existent, just a little dense energy. But it would go so fast around that nucleus, around the stadium, that to a naked eye, you would see a giant ball the size of a stadium. But deep inside, 99.9999999% of that is empty space, nothing. And you get one of those atoms connected with another one and another one and another one, and eventually you end up with this. But deep inside, 99.9999999% of this is empty space. Now, when this frisky electron goes around, it creates an electromagnetic field around that little atom. Now you add another field like that, another one, and essentially at the end, you end up with a huge energy field that goes around you as far as you can reach. It's measurable, it can be photographed, it's nothing new. We've been photographing with Kirlian photography for almost 100 years now, since 1930s. Nothing new. We know that we're electromagnetic. Every signal in our bodies is electromagnetic. If there's no electric signal, you're gone. So it's not very hard to accept it. But what are the things that change this energy that affect our health? Now it goes both ways. Your health can affect your energy. Eat some kind of a poison, it will affect your energy. Or your energy obviously always affects your health. Depends which is your perspective, where you're looking at. If you're, eating something bad or something good, either one of those turns into energy, some kind of an energy. First of all, it will turn into thermal energy. It will keep you warm, kinetic energy, you run around. But altogether, it adds to the very basic of your being, which is this energy altogether. So if this field gets away from that balance, it will create some issues. If the balance stays off for a longer period of time, the issues are bigger. This desk that I'm sitting at, this wooden desk, it will stay the same. This also has an energy field. Everything is energy. Right now we're breathing this invisible air, yet we know there's so many elements in it. So this table, when you burn it, then it will change the energy. Otherwise, it stays the same. Our energy change all the time. So first of all, it can be from food, right? It can be from what you drink. It can be from the air you breathe. I'm just going to run through these because I elaborate in it in my book, and it can be from the environment, the underground waters, caverns, caves, cosmic radiation. Everything can change your energy. But since I claim that I'm electromagnetic and you are and everybody else is, and we know that electromagnetic fields like a computer or TV or microwave, they affect our energies as well. other people will also affect our energy. We know that from obvious reasons, but also on energetic level, they affect our energy. They either raise it or they lower it. So, and then the highest influence on your energy, of course, is your thinking. If you think you're doing great, you're doing great. If you think you're unhappy, you are unhappy. It's
What you
all
focus on grows.
totally up to
Yeah.
you. There
Yeah.
is no stress. Nobody sells it like, hey, here's some stress. No, it's all in between
We
the ears.
created ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
so many years ago, I started searching for, okay, what will keep us in balance? What's the best thing that will keep us in balance? Well, since the highest influence to our energy is our brain, then why not teach our brain to be happy all the time without drugs or anything? Just set it to happy.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, I was looking at things. If something negative happened, I know from universal law that there's something positive attached to it. Whether you look at modern quantum physics or yin and yang, it doesn't matter. One doesn't exist without the other.
Mhm.
So when a bad event happened, I used to look for the positive that attached to it. Then later, when I always found it, I realized, well, sooner or later it comes. Sometimes the next day, sometimes 10 years later, but something positive is attached to that event. And so from that moment on, it's not negative anymore, right? And so all I had to do is form sort of a philosophy for myself in that youth, which I accepted that everything happened for a reason,
Mhm.
whether it's divine reason or a logical reason, doesn't matter. There is a reason for everything. Number two, there's something positive in everything that happens. And number three, what at that time I classified don't piss against the wind, like go with the flow. It's an old Tai Chi philosophy. It's basically Zen. At one point, whatever happens, happens. You can look at it from a positive angle or a negative angle. And if it's a positive angle, it will make you happy. If it's from the negative angle, it will make you sad.
Yeah.
And so it's totally your choice.
It is very hard for people to buy into this mindset when they are going through the tough times. And I know, it is hard to see the positives when something really bad happens to you.
Well,
But
and then
but
that's
when you
where
look back in your life, you realize you are absolutely right, because every bad moment that you survived, that you thought was the end of the life, came out that something even better was around the corner for you. It
exactly.
just you didn't see it at that moment because you were suffering in
Hmm.
that moment and trying desperately to not change that thing. And it turned out not only all right, but something better came out of it. So I would just like to encourage someone who is listening to it and rolling their eyes that, yeah, right, yeah, like he has no idea what's going on in my life. Everybody has something going on in their life, and it's
There's
really the choice to be consumed by the pain or condition yourself to be able to be more acceptable and realize it will not stay the same. You will go through it and something will be better on the other end of it.
it's all always in the mind. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself, I'm lazy, I'm not gonna get up today. You know. I don't see, I don't know, Usain Bolt doing that, morning of the Olympic Games, like, I don't feel like running today. No, it's the mindset was there. I'm the fastest person on the planet, and he was. So this goes with health as well. When we buy into the the mass hysteria, not to mention, pandemic and stuff, but when they said, "Ooh, milk does a body good. Ooh, everybody drink milk. Let's go." No, it doesn't do the body good, but it was good advertisement.
Yeah.
The same good advertisement they had for Marlboros and Camels and, in the past for everything. It's the best thing on the planet. And, margarine, yoo-hoo, you don't
Yep.
have to wait for it to thaw. And it's killing everybody. And
And just follow the
why
money
why is
always. Yeah.
why is America obese since the 1970s?
Hmm.
Nobody was fat before. They had
Yep.
natural foods. Now we're eating things we can't pronounce. Well, some
Right.
people do. It's
And it's a things, it's not even food, it's created in laboratory.
yes,
It has
yes.
really, your body struggles to figure out what to do with it.
I mean, the bottom line is if you have to read the ingredients, it's probably not good for you.
Yeah.
So,
Or if
it,
you, that's a funny thing because when I first came to States, and I came much later than you did, I came 2002, right after 9/11. And I was always into food and healthy eating. And, Europe is very much about cooking from scratch and, growing your food and stuff like that. So what I first realized, just to like insert this experience because we can probably relate to it, I started buying stuff like butter, mustard, pickles, and realized everything was so off. It was either way too salty, way too sweet, way too sour. It was no balance in anything. And you go and you don't know any better at that time. So I remember buying first bread, and it was on a counter for a month and it didn't get spoiled. I'm like,
yes.
okay, that's not coming to my house. And I started baking my own. It's really, when you start thinking about it, the food is the absolute nourishment for your body that you need to create the energy and health and everything. That's your gas that you're putting in your
Yes,
most
yeah. You
valuable
don't put
car.
diesel in your gasoline engine car.
And
Yes.
people don't seem to care. It's like, well, I like pizza, so I will have pizza 5 times, and it's easy, and
Yeah.
it's,
Yes.
I don't know. I am probably wired differently and probably much closer to your philosophy. My body is my most valuable possession. I do care what I
It-
put in it. I don't care so much what I put on
it's
top of it.
very true that you have to be a vigilant in this country about what you eat, what you
Yeah.
buy. It has to be organic, whether you think it's really organic or not, but you have to make the effort.
Yeah.
Even that doesn't guarantee many things. I mean, I was in Europe this year twice. I taught a seminar in the Alps for a week, which was absolutely beautiful. We had our own personal chef making, fresh salads every day
Hmm.
and nice local foods. And then everywhere we went through 10 countries on a motorcycle. This was a really awesome event. Everywhere the food was amazing.
Yeah.
And we came back, and the first 3 days we were just looking at each other like, this has no taste, like actual aroma, taste to anything.
That's right. Yeah.
If you buy any kind of chicken, roast chicken or what, no taste. They have to add so much flavor to it to be consumable because it just doesn't have a basic taste to it. The
Something like
eggs,
tomato, like
oh,
smell
the
tomato.
tomatoes,
There's no smell. It's
yes,
water. There's nothing to it.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's tough to be healthy, but that's your number one duty as a human, I think. I mean, obviously, you want to be happy, you want to be healthy. One doesn't go without the other.
That's right.
So, yeah, there's so much more around it, community, love, and all of that. But you yourself are your only real boss. You tell yourself, okay, I'm going to get up and exercise now. Okay, I'm not going to take that thing because that's going to ruin my body. I'm going to eat this
Hmm.
and make your own choices. There are certain things I can teach people. I can work on people. I can heal people, but I can't make them do things. They have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Nobody can work out for you. Only you can work out for your own body, right? Nobody can eat for you. Nobody can go to the bathroom for you. There are just some things that no matter how rich you are, No matter what royal family you came from, you have experienced pain. You have experienced some kind of a mental, emotional suffering, loss.
Yeah.
So it's part of being human. It's your thing how you overcome it.
But I have a question when you were talking about how the energy works and what is possible for you when you approach somebody's energy and pain goes away. Is there a knowing limit to what type of pain perhaps you cannot influence? Do you know about?
There's no limit in anything. It's just people are so different,
Yeah,
so absolutely different from everything I described here in their eating habits, thinking habits, exercise, that it's very hard to predict how many sessions somebody's treatment would take, to
right.
get them to full healing. I had a person who had migraines for like 60 years. We did one session, it never came back, 20 years
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
On the other hand, another person, younger, in better shape, I had to work on, 10 sessions before they ceased. I mean, each time I will stop, but we may have not fixed what the issue was to begin with. Like
Yeah, it's exactly right because it's holistic. It's everything is
yes.
interconnected. So
And
yeah,
the statistically, like 3/4 of Americans are overweight, 75% overweight.
yeah.
About the same percentage is also dehydrated. Now, they would like, well, if I drink more water, I pee more. Yeah, of course, because there's nothing to hold on to the water. It's not really the amount of water that you drink, it's how much salt you have in your system to hold on to that water. And this is where, again, the crazy old talks come in like, oh, but salt is not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Since when?
Yeah,
I mean, salt, salary, the word comes from salt. They were paid in salt. It was the most basic necessity
right.
ever in human history.
Yeah,
Your number one electrolyte in your body. Literally the most important mineral in your body is sodium chloride.
yeah.
Now, the problem comes in from different salts that are being sold, and some really do raise your blood pressure.
And what is being put into them
Well,
aside the
it's
salt?
not even that.
Yeah.
Let's even leave that out. But let's take a regular table salt. I won't say the name. Starts with an M.
Yep.
Um, it has 39 to 42% sodium chloride. What's the rest of that salt? What's in it? It took me years to actually find out. Half of the rest is salt, the other half is silica. Silica is microscopic particles of glass. And the salt, dissolves. These things don't. It comes into your blood vessels, and they scrape it like that. So, kind of like scratching through. Now, how does your body react? Because your body can heal everything. We're really good self-healers. We have cholesterol. We don't have band-aids, but the cholesterol works like band-aids, and it covers all of those scratches.
Mm.
But then you have the same salt and you keep scratching on. Now, then you take the extra calcium, which was the fad 20 years ago, like, ooh, extra calcium, calcium for this, calcium for that, calcium for the bones. I mean, calcium is only one of the so many ingredients in your bones. It's not the only one. But you have too much calcium carbonate, and poof, it calcifies your blood vessels, blood pressure goes up. Now, here's the trick. In your cells, you have the cell wall, which lets in and out food and everything according to the calcium and potassium ratio between them. So these two guys decide who's coming in, who's going out. The problem is that by the time you lost like 60% of your sodium chloride in your cell, you only lost 2% of your potassium chloride. So the right ratio for any salt would be a minimum of 97% sodium chloride to be healthy.
Yeah.
But that amount you can eat by spoonfuls, and your blood pressure will stay the same. Now, uh, There are salts like that. You can find many of that. I use one from Bosnia called Tuzla salt, Tuzla. It has 99.7% pure sodium chloride. It was never bleached. It was never cleaned. It was, it comes out of the mountain in huge blocks of pure salt. Himalayan salt, I found some that have 30% of potassium chloride. That can be really bad for you. Some studies found some mercury in it, so that one's off. Sea salt, our seas are polluted. No matter the good minerals and everything, sea salt has to be bleached. It's collected on the, beach basically. Where did the birds poop? Where did the sea dump its all, junk? All of it is there. So it has to be purified, bleached, and such. So again, not many, choices, but
That's the
it,
part of a problem when people tell you, when you start educating about the proper foods
mhm.
that the body needs to function, to create energy. And this is exactly the example how people start to eat healthy, and then a year later they realize that what they believe was healthy is actually hurting them.
I know.
It is really frustrating for even
And
professionals that are in this space
oh, they
to,
can't follow it. I mean,
yeah,
doctors really can't follow this. Mainly doctors are being educated to be good pill sellers, pill
yeah.
peddlers.
Doctors has
And
no
the
nutritional
pharmaceutical
education at
companies,
all. Yeah,
yeah, pharmaceutical companies are the ones that finance all the medical schools. The FDA, I mean,
yep,
everybody's under the influence. So you have to be your own vigilant healer. Now, what happens when you do get sick? You take pills or you take ingredients, other minerals and vitamins and whatnot, or you go to the basic level and the energetic level. So instead of popping a pill, you come and see me. It will take a couple minutes to take that excess energy off, put everything back in balance. And the one difference between this method of bioenergy healing that my teacher developed and all the other methods is that we add energy, we take energy off, but we also balance it at the end and we jumpstart the energy flow. So whatever prevented the formation of those obstacles, we try to push through and clean through that area, get the energy to rush. Once the energy is back in balance and in normal circulation, the body is able to continue its natural function, which includes healing itself.
right.
It's not the Band-Aid that heals your cut. It's your body that does it. So I don't really consider myself, a healer per se. I'm more like an energy engineer. I
Hmm.
put your energy back where it's supposed to be and let your body do the rest. Now, many times, of course, it needs a kick in the butt. If you have tumors, cancer, there's a lot more than a 2-minute treatment.
Yeah. And it also
Normal,
didn't develop in 2 days. It was
yes,
developing
exactly.
for years.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
also depends on that.
Yeah.
With my kids, famously, we just did a quick one, like, oh, hit the elbow, what do you do? Now, we know that your instinct is you're gonna go rub it, right? That's our instinct. However, underneath, we know that, okay, we're rubbing off a little bit of the nerve endings, but also whenever you hit something, there's excess energy that accumulates there instantaneously. And so all we do is take that excess energy off, you pull that off and the pain is gone. With kids, I didn't have to tell them about Tylenol or whatever. They didn't know what it was. We grabbed the pain and we threw it away.
Hmm.
And then we did that a few times and the pain was gone. So they grew up like that. They didn't know that there were pain pills or such thing.
Yeah.
So if you would educate this in school, people would grow up to be healers for themselves. And
Yeah.
and they could heal others. As a
And
matter
it's
of
it's
fact, we
funny.
we I'm
Sorry,
just gonna I'm just gonna throw this in
I was
here.
gonna mention that I saw that you
Uh-huh.
wrote a book.
So
It's called "The Girl with the Healing Hands," and it's a
yes,
book for kids to become their own healers, which is
um,
absolutely fabulous.
my oldest daughter, Kylie, was 2 years old when I was working on her grandfather on
Hmm.
his knees. And I was working on one knee, and she walked over and she started doing the same thing in the other knee, kind of like mimicking my moves. And next thing you know, everybody turned, serious, like because Grandpa was serious, like, hey, I feel it.
Yeah.
And eventually the pain stopped just like it did on the other knee. So the whole story is in here. She illustrated the book when she was 9. We decided to tell the story,
Hmm.
uh, and eventually she became an art teacher. So
Beautiful.
that's where
Yeah.
it,
But
it
if you're
developed.
watching, if you're not watching the video, Shangor is showing the book cover that is really cute, and it's children illustrations that is the most
It's
honest and
called
natural. Yeah.
called The Girl with the Healing Hands,
Yeah.
based on a true story, but it teaches kids how to feel and how to see the energy,
So tell
which
me, when we talk about this, I saw some of your videos when you're working on people, and I understand you don't even have to touch them. But
no.
for me, not being exposed to this world, uh, it is much harder to imagine that the same thing can work from, let's say, you are in Florida and you are helping somebody in Yugoslavia over the phone, or how does it work?
Well, how does the phone work?
I don't know.
How do you talk to somebody over? Well, why did you ever question it?
Yeah.
No,
No.
you picked it up because everybody uses it, right? So one day when every corner has a healer who does long distance healing, people would also not question it because it
But do
becomes
you
a
have to see the person, or you don't even have to see them?
no, no. I've been doing this from the very beginning, the long distance healing, but in essence, since the pandemic, I believe 80% of my work is now long distance.
Hmm.
People in Australia or anywhere else in the world, I don't see them. We don't connect online. As a matter of fact, the connection we use in long distance energy healing is a higher vibration than being online. It's faster, it's more effective. It can be, again, explained through quantum physics in detail, but just like you don't know how your phone works, you don't really need to know how this works. It works. It's again, it's putting that energy that you felt, when you thought of your friend and then the phone rang, right? That was a
Hmm.
little snippet. Now, if you do that consciously, you go into a deep meditation, you can visualize your friend, you can with training see their energy, and also with training you can change that energy. Now, if I work on somebody one-on-one, I don't really have to touch them. We're all connected, but let's say if we just go with the energy field that goes roughly as far as you can reach, just if I'm there. My hands automatically detect after so many years, the warm, cold, the pressure, the magnetic feeling, where there's pain, where there's no pain, and such. I could talk to people or watch TV and do it without any concentration. It's so automatic now.
Hmm.
And the movements that my teacher developed also become automatic, and you know when to stop, even though the instructions are okay, hold this for so long, hold this part for so long. And so at the end, you balance the entire energy field, and you're done. Now, if you are in the other room, it doesn't make any difference. It's just a little bit harder to feel. If you're out on the street or 2 streets away where I can see you, it's the same thing. But if I can't see you anymore, then I have to visualize it, that it's a little bit different. And so it's done in deep meditation, but once I'm there, I can work on up to 10 people, one after the other, as if I saw them in an office. And then later I write their reports, what I found, what I changed, and also recommendations for them to change in their diet or thinking or exercise or such.
Do you need to know anything about them in order to visualize their issue?
Usually I ask for name, age, location, and a recent photo. It goes without those two, but it makes my life easier. It's
Hmm.
easier to visualize it, and why make it hard if it goes easy?
Yeah. I had a massage therapist in years back in Czech that he was working with energy as well. And he would always, after, because I had 3 surgeries in my back, unfortunately, so my energy got interrupted. But he would always, and at that time, this is like me being 25, 30,
Hmm.
he would take a lighter and just, take it off his hands, like burn it off his hands. And I was wondering if it's more for show, or if it's really like, you probably can speak to it. Is there a danger that you will take on some negative energy from somebody else? How
All
do
the
you?
time. I mean, your friend comes in, your best friend, he comes in like, woohoo, lights the room, right? And then you can have somebody who comes in and right away everybody's
Yeah,
losing their
but
so
when you're healing someone, that's what
now
I
when you're
mean.
healing, obviously it can happen just like that. But and this is something that I didn't know when I started out, and I would stop somebody's headache and I would get one, or my
Hmm.
hands would hurt. Then I learned that, yeah, you pick up this energy in the same way you want to shake it off. It's almost like a jello around you. You
Yeah,
want to empty this bowl of jello, but each time you just pick up so much and it sticks to your fingers, you shake it off, it's gone. Running water will take it off, or swimming takes it off, go to spa takes it off. Hugging a tree will, take off. I mean, again, we can talk physics and go into ions, positive, negative particles, and
yeah.
and people go grounding. Yeah, grounding is natural, of course, but obviously you can't always go barefoot somewhere. But the same energy comes in with your cat or dog. If you pet them, you get the
Hmm.
same grounding effect. Or go really hug a tree. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just interesting, and I don't want to go deep into scientific
It
explanations, more
does.
for like, yeah, what
It's a
people.
very good question, and yes, I outline all the methods how to get rid of that excess energy in my book.
And I'm getting it on Sunday. Unfortunately, I didn't buy it fast enough. So I wanted to be
Might as well
prepared.
show it to your audience.
Yeah.
So
It's
this book
called
specifically,
Bioenergy Healing by Csongor Daniel.
mhm, this book has well, instructions on everything, how to feel the energy, how to see it, how to manipulate it. And also for those who have hard time understanding the visuals, I have these little QR codes in the book. So it will take you to 31 different videos,
Hmm.
each one connected with the subject in the book.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit easier. And based on that, during the pandemic, actually, my filmmaker cousin was visiting from Budapest, and he was stuck here with me. So what to do? We got a whole studio set up, and we shot 7 different videos, all instructions in energy healing. So I put it together as an online seminar.
Yeah.
And you can see the whole thing in less than a week and learn the entire system just from that.
What
Well,
is interesting, you are not just trying to collect, help people be a healer. You are trying to teach others so they can do it themselves.
in reality, I found out what really kept me healthy all these years. Now I was kind of sickly kid. I picked up every cold, every flu, every season. As soon as I started doing energy healing, all of that stopped. And years later, it got me thinking, well, wait a second, I tried every diet on this planet just so I would know what to tell my clients, how it feels
Hmm.
or if it's good for them. I tried different exercises. I have broken bones, but in essence, I never even got a cold, not even a sniffly nose. My fiance had the COVID. I was sleeping with her, kissing her, eating with her, never got it.
Hmm.
So it dawned on me that the more I work on others, the more energy goes through me, preventing the formation of these obstacles. It's not my energy, it's everywhere. It's like breathing, air. So in essence, the more you help others, the healthier you become.
The more
You know,
positively you are affected as well.
it's
Yeah.
like Muhammad Ali said, it's better to give than to receive. I mean, it goes for boxing, goes for everything else.
Yeah. Is there something that you think people have the biggest misconception about what you do?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of people have misconception about many things. Some people still think the earth is flat. I mean, fine, go for it. Some people swear in Muhammad, some in Jesus. I can't help that. I don't want to change minds there. I just want to open people's minds to something new. Like, hey, this is a possibility. You don't need to take a pill. You don't need to go to the hospital. You know how much a hospital is a night right now? I mean, you can go to the Ritz and do the biggest party. It still won't cost that much.
Mm.
Get a stitch. Just go to the emergency room and get one stitch. You cut yourself, get a stitch. It will be like $500. For that, you learn the entire system and you don't need, well, of course you need to stitch yourself up if something like that comes, obviously, or if you break something, you need a specialist. But as far as illnesses, autoimmune disease, headaches, everything else, there is an answer. You can heal yourself,
And it's a
and it's
lifestyle
all in there, and
developed,
it's
unfortunately.
it's
Yeah.
much much simpler and easier than people would think. But again, it's being aware, being awake. I mean, if you didn't know about the salt until now, or you were, using the Himalayan salt or whatnot, when I learned about salt, when it really dawned on me, it was 5 years ago. Ever since then, I haven't even had a glass of water without salt in it. So I'm loading myself up, and my salt levels are still within the normal.
Yeah.
My cholesterol level is a little bit high. I mean, I'm ripped, but what the hell, right? But who tells what is right and what is wrong?
Exactly. What is the level that is, yeah.
Yes, the level used to be here, now it's here.
Yeah.
And so guess what your brain is made of? Cholesterol. So
And
are they
it needs
telling me
it.
that
Yeah.
we're too smart? We should
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
definitely lower
Yeah.
it. And now they
Yeah.
found out that, that below a certain level of cholesterol, that's where most cancer happens. Is it a coincidence or not? I mean, everything is such a
Unfortunately, the more you
gibberish.
know, the more it starts making sense
Yes,
that there are some different interests than to keep people healthy.
or as Descartes said, the more you know, the less you know.
Yep.
More
Yes.
questions come up.
I just noticed yesterday, and that's I have been aware of it, but not to the deepest ends that I just learned yesterday about the fluoride that used to be that is still inserted into drinking water
Hmm.
under the premise that it prevents the cavities in.
Hmm.
I'm using fluoride-free toothpaste for years, and I have no cavities
And you
for
still have your
several.
teeth.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And guess
It's
what? Before toothpaste, people still had teeth.
exactly. Maybe
Yes.
maybe it looked a little differently, but yeah. No, it's really when you stop and think about these things. And you mentioned people were not even obese 30, 40 years ago, not in the amounts that we see
Hmm.
now. And what is obesity?
This everything goes together. I mean,
Diabetes. Yeah.
obesity, inflammation, if you just use the wrong oils, canola, corn,
Yeah.
and those, it will keep your body in constant inflammation. That means your immune system is already compromised
Compromise. Yeah.
and your body is suffering constantly.
Yeah.
Every time you have a big heavy meal, your body has to process it. All that energy goes into processing that meal. When you have a light salad, or a fruit, a live food, it gives you energy instead of taking it away. I don't want to turn anybody, vegans or vegetarians. If you have any uh, uh, obesity issues or overweight, look around. You'll never see an overweight vegan.
Mm.
How come? You know? So think about certain things. When you make a smoothie in your blender, if it's made of fruit or vegetables, after that, you rinse your blender and you're done. Everything else that you put in there, if it's greasy or if it's something else, when you have to wash that blender and scrub it, it's the same in your body. These are such simple things. We know that your brain needs a certain sugar. Where does the certain sugar come from? Well, fruit.
Mm.
Oh, well, then we need fruit. Oh, but if you're diabetic, you shouldn't have fruit because it has sugar. Again, going to those talks, and why are you a diabetic? What is the real reason for it? It's not what you think many times.
Yeah.
And so everything else is so vaguely talked about. If you go to a doctor and you have issues, you know that they will go through a slew of pills before one will work, and each one will have a side effect.
Yeah.
Why not instead look inside what you're doing wrong, change it, and life gets better. It's all up to you, nobody else. It's
One
easier
question.
to take the pill, of course.
Yeah, it's fast fix and the really
Yes.
quick fix that a lot of people look for. That was, I was thinking when you were talking about the choices we make for, what we put into our body. When you, let's say you help someone with something, but they ignore the rest of your recommendations to what they should look at in maybe their lifestyle or diet. Is it still lasting, or do they come back because it came back because obviously these components also participate in
I
the
think your
reason?
answer is quite obvious. I mean, if I fix something and then you keep doing the same lifestyle, then you'll eventually run into the same problem.
Is it frustrating for you?
No, no, I learned to accept people with their quirkiness, and I know that really everybody has a problem, some kind of a problem, and I'll keep repeating myself until they get it, or I don't. I mean, it's
Mm,
all Zen.
yeah,
It doesn't affect me. It affects them.
that's right.
The only thing that it affects with me, mm, I may make more money because I'll have to work on them more.
Yeah.
If they would listen to me, I would have to work on them less. Either way, it doesn't make a difference from me. If I'm done with one client, there will be another one.
So it's
So,
funny when you said that because if you put it on its head, you are advocating against your own interest. Unlike doctors, when they put you on pills and they are very, very stimulated to keep you on pills for the rest of your life.
well, I mean, I don't, unfortunately, I don't have any good pills to sell, but
Yeah,
I sell the knowledge of being healthy, and I think it has a lot higher value and lasts a lot longer.
yeah.
And I know that I cannot, change people's minds. I can't change the core of a person. I can give them knowledge with peace and love, and they take it or leave it. I have a good example here. Exactly 29 years ago, I started working on two girlfriends,
Hmm.
and one took my advice right away. The other one just listened but never acted on it. She was suffering for 29 years with the same issues. I'd fix it, but it would come back. I'd fix it, come back. And I explained it many times, like what she needs to do.
Yeah.
And at one point, she just said outright, "Look, I'm not gonna do it. Just just work on me every week, and then
Just fix
keep
me.
keep
Yeah.
me." Yeah. The other one, not only that took the advice, the health advice, but eventually even came to the gym with me, and we still work out 29 years later. And she's in incredible shape. You could never tell her age or
Hmm.
anything. Never had pain in 29 years. A little bit of pulled muscle from the gym,
Right.
or the dog yanked a little bit harder, but even those were minimal because of being in a good shape. I also recommend and I advocate a morning routine. 5 minutes, that's all it takes. 5 minutes, you stretch your neck, your shoulders, your waist. I have a specific exercise called the swing. It's derived from an old Qigong exercise. The goal is to move every vertebra in the spine
I've seen it, yeah.
and also get the energy to move. I took a bunch of videos around the world, put it up on TikTok and Instagram if
Yeah.
anybody wants to look at it. It looks
And
kind of silly, but when
no,
you
it
do
is.
it, it's
I actually
extremely relaxing.
my personal trainer did this with me when I was in discomfort with my spine
Mm-hmm.
because obviously my energy is a little limited. I have fused back in a lumbar, so I had to learn around it how to use my body more properly. But it's yeah, it's very effective. It creates really strange motions in you
Mm-hmm.
when you
Mm-hmm.
do it properly. I just want to remind people if you are into what Chandra is saying, I will absolutely post all the links to his social media, website, and everything in a show notes, so you don't have to write anything down. You will see it under this episode, and you can reach out directly and see or self learn or attend the seminar that he posted online that you can see how it can help you and maybe your loved ones. uh, is there something I didn't ask you that you would like to say that maybe for people that are kind of on the fence and not sure and they want to look at it, what they can start with as a first,
Well,
the minimum
number
that they
one,
can
if
do?
if you're questioning whether you're a healer or not, um, again, going back to you know, the cut, everybody's a healer. Everybody's body heals themselves. Everybody has the energy. It is just like anything else, like playing basketball. We can all learn to play basketball. Now, there was one Michael Jordan, LeBron James. There's some people who do it better, but we can all play basketball. Same with riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a pilot, right? Most people, but not everybody is a pilot. So here I offer something again. Some people will be extremely good at it, maybe even take it into a profession just from these instructions. Other people will be happy to stop pain in their family or help their loved ones or control some health issues and such. So it's just a pure benefit no matter what way you look at
Yeah, whether you choose to develop it or not.
it.
You have
Yes.
it. Yeah.
And while we're at it, might as well. I'll try to explain it for those who are not uh, watching us, but let's learn to feel this energy,
Hmm.
okay? Just to see how little time it takes and how effective that is. Okay, so listeners, lift your arms up straight in
Hmm.
front of you like that, and you can do it too.
Yep.
And drop your fingers, relax your hands totally. Now, while in this position, lift your fingers up so your hands are straight with your forearms. Okay. Now drop them. Okay. I want you to feel the difference from totally relaxed to a little bit of tension. As you can see, there's a little bit of space between my
Hmm.
fingers, but there is tension holding the hands up. Okay. Now with that tension, now you can bend your elbows, let them down, and visualize holding a basketball in front of you. Right there in front of your chest or face, doesn't matter. Let your hands or your arms and elbows hang, and with slight tension in your fingers, you're holding this ball. Now, when you think you have it, press your palms closer by an inch, and then let them back. And again, what do you feel? Now, loosen
Imaginary
up a little bit.
ball.
You can even speed it up that it
Hmm.
feels like there were a ball, right? Like a little bit of resistance. You can even speed it up like back and forth,
Yeah.
and you'll feel this pulsing. It's like when you try to push two magnets together and they're both, the positive sides and they wouldn't go. So as you get closer and closer, you may feel more of that
Resistance.
repulsive
Yeah.
energy, right? Now
Hmm.
stop like an inch distance here. You'll also feel some heat. And if you try to move your fingers just a little bit, you'll feel as if your knuckles needed lubrication, right? A little bit squeaky. And that's all the feeling with this energy. Now, while you're there, rotate your hands like this, roll. And if your arms are relaxed enough, you'll feel the exact center of that rotation, right in the middle of your palm. Again, like playing with those magnets when you can't push them together, but they go around in a circle. Can you feel it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, about
absolutely.
90% of your listeners will feel it the very first time. And the same way,
Please
about
watch this on
90% will
YouTube so
see.
you can follow the instructions.
Now, again, you can increase that distance and still feel that magnetic
Hmm.
middle. Now, come back to the middle right here, just an inch distance, and now slowly pull your palms apart. Can you feel the resistance to that motion?
Hmm.
Like a little bit harder. And then push it back together. Now you have a bigger ball that will start compressing earlier. It's a good exercise. There are some areas where you feel it more. So again, back and forth, and then both are meeting with resistance because it's like magnets on both sides, just like that. And once we learn to feel this, then we can feel it around the body, and we can also distinguish the differences in some areas. So it all comes slowly with a little bit of practice. Actually, it all comes pretty fast. And then you can even do your own diagnostics. Sometimes your elbow may hurt, but it's the shoulders issue or the neck problem. So
Yeah.
finding the root of the cause you can do by tracing the imbalance in the energy.
That's exactly right, because
And
we
that's
we are
simple.
being treated for symptoms that may not even originate in the
Mm-hmm.
spot that is being treated for. And that's so important to understand. A lot of
Yes.
people don't pay attention to that, and it's just, oh, just give me a pill. And well, I believe most of my listeners are very over medicating themselves. We are on a mission to find solutions that are much less harmful and much more effective, that actually goes to core of that issue and not just cover the symptoms. It's fascinating. This is fascinating for me because I too believed that there are certain people that have just more energy or more availability of this talent than
Mm-hmm.
others. But what really attracted me to you was the motion that anybody can learn this and do it on themselves or help others. You don't have to become a master healer in the world, but it's available to us. Our body is such a brilliant self-healing machine, and we do
Exactly.
so much damage to it by the choices we make, the lifestyle we have, all the things. And I always come back to everybody remembers their first car. They love that car, or in your case, maybe motorcycle, right? And you polish everything, and you have so many memories. You can, if you close your eyes, you can still smell the inside of the car. You know exactly how it felt like, taking it on
Mm-hmm.
the street. And it's, you would never, like, every weekend you would wash it, and you took such a great care of it because it was lovely possession for you, and you would not put wrong gas into it.
Mm-hmm.
You do
Mm-hmm.
it every day to your body, but the car you can replace.
Yes,
And it's just mind-boggling when you think about it, when you really stop and think about it, what we do to ourselves.
well, again, as humankind, as humans, we're doing it wrong. When they said they put the advertisement for, Coca-Cola, and it's in the Olympic Games, Christmas time, Santa's drinking Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Like, ooh, it must be so good for you. No, it's poison, but it's the marketing. And so we have to stop believing everything,
And then
especially
let's make
nowadays.
healthy choices and drink Diet Coke.
Yes, yes. If somebody tells you that that's good for you now and you believe it, I mean, that's your fault.
Mm.
In today's time, we know that we're surrounded by
There's so
advertisements
much
for profit, and
information
then
that you
that's
can
pretty
actually
much it.
dig. You can dig
Yes.
deep and find out what the truth is. If you if it's important to you enough to really learn the truth. But yeah, there's a lot of people that will go to their comfort foods no matter what, even knowing that it's not doing them any good, but they are not willing to change 1 inch. And just like that excellent example that you gave with those two girls, it's your personal choice.
Hmm.
Nobody can tell you
Hmm.
or do it for you. Nobody can tell you, okay, well, you killing yourself. You in fact are, but hey, it's your choice.
You
So
have the influence on your kids. You can teach your kids. They'll
yeah,
eat what you make. Who goes to the store? You do, not them.
they
So
can
you're the
participate
one
in
who,
preparation. It's play
yes, I
for
mean
them. They
it's
are,
a
yeah,
it's
attracted
an
to them.
old subject. So
Absolutely.
yeah, wake up, people, and start healing yourselves. That's the message.
Excellent. Changor, I knew this is gonna be interesting. I loved it. I learned again something new and more, that we kind of understand what the body is capable of, but we are not using it to its potential. And I just hope that people will listen to you and reach out if they feel like you may help them immediately, or maybe consider that they can develop those tools themselves and learn how to use the energy to help yourself or help others, and go on Chandor's website and learn from his online seminar. I believe that you are offering 20% off to our listeners. I don't know how
Yes.
long is that in the process. Do they have to use some kind of uh, coupon or
There is a coupon code called Bio20.
Bio
B
20?
B
Okay.
I O 20
Okay.
with I believe it's a capital B.
Okay, so if you go to bioenergyhealing.net, that's Chandor's online seminar, you can start learning these things with the 20% off, and the code would be BIO20.
As a matter of fact, the first two lessons are completely free, so you can see if this is for you. We put in a lot of special effects so you can kind of visualize or see what you should visualize. And so a lot of these aids make it easier.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of good in the world, Chandor, and I'm really glad we met, and it's fascinating. But until we met, I believe that there are selected few that could have these powers. And what is very encouraging is that we all can learn it.
We should do a
So
follow-up after you read the book and tried it out, and
maybe, yeah,
tell your
yeah,
audience how fast it took.
yeah. I'm pretty good lately because I work with something that actually really turned my cellular health upside down, and for better. So I don't suffer with many things, but of course, with age, you start feeling things and aching, and the more natural approach we can take to these things, the better quality of long vital life we will have. And I believe everybody wants to live forever, but none of us is imagining to needing assistance in that older age, and it's important because you have to think about that today. It is not going to happen overnight, and if you are already struggling with things, it may be like 5 of 12 to start really taking serious approach to your health, because nobody will do it for us. And like you mentioned, the COVID, if those few years back taught us anything, we have to take care of ourselves first.
Hmm.
It is very important how good shape we are in and how we can withstand all these attacks, and viral, whether viral or susceptible to injuries, and everything else is in our control. So such a pleasure meeting you, Chandor. It was really fun for me to learn. And yeah, maybe we can do a follow-up a few months later, that just to and if anybody goes and take your course, I would love them to reach out to me, and we can get you on and we can share the experience. That would be really fun.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having me. It was
Thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much. Thank you.